TGIF. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Friday, November 7th. Seattle still does not have a clear winner in the mayor's race tonight, but the results have started looking much better for progressive challenger Katie Wilson. Bruce Harrell now leads the race against Wilson by nearly 1.9 points, a slip from his initial 7-point lead on election night when the first batch was counted. Today represents one of the bigger counts of the election, but counting will continue as others arrive to Elections HQ next week. For some context, Harrell's lead in the 2021 election slipped 12 points over the course of weeks of counting. In Seattle, more progressive voters tend to vote later, which is why the counts favor progressives in the days following election night. Adding some drama to the results, the firm Decision Desk HQ has rescinded their projection that Bruce Harrell would likely prevail over challenger Katie Wilson in the race for mayor. They forecast Harrell's victory yesterday on what they now say was erroneous information. Scott Tranter is the director of data science with Decision Desk HQ.
We're going to retract our race projection for Bruce Harrell. We're not going to make another projection at this point. We're just going to remove the projection for Bruce Harrell, and we're going to continue to await more official data from the county before projections made.
Yesterday, King County Elections had said there were 100,000 Seattle ballots left to count, but Decision Desk had thought there were only 70,000. KUOW hired the firm to create embedded election updates for its website, but removed the update on the Seattle mayor's race yesterday over concerns that it was too soon to project a winner. Big news in another election we're following. King County Councilmember Gurmai Zahalai will become the next King County executive. Today, fellow councilmember Claudia Balducci conceded the race to Zahalai. In today's ballot count, he extended his lead to 7.7%. In a statement, Balducci congratulated Zahalai and said, quote, "He has my full support." 28 flights in and out of SeaTac Airport were canceled today, with most of those on regional airline SkyWest. And flight delays have crept up to 125, mostly impacting Alaska Airlines, Delta, and Southwest. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned today that flight cancellations could double if air traffic controller shortages get worse. The U.S. government shutdown has turned off the spigot of federal aid for people who need help to keep the heat on. But the situation in Washington state is not as dire as in other places. John Ryan reports.
With the shutdown, federal funding for low-income energy assistance is on hold, even as cold temperatures spread across the country. That could be bad news for the 90,000 Washington households that rely on federal energy assistance. But Washington state has leftover federal funding from last year to keep providing heating assistance this winter. State officials say it's enough to help low-income families keep the heat on through February. The state is also funding its own home energy program with money it has raised in its carbon auctions. The state's biggest polluters have to pay to emit carbon dioxide, with the money going to environmental and energy programs. John Ryan, KUOW News.
In crime news today, violent crime in Seattle is way down so far this year. A report from the Major Cities Chiefs Association shows that homicides fell by nearly 50% through September compared with the same period last year. There were 24 homicides over that time, down from 47 in 2024. That's the third biggest decrease among major cities covered in the report. The number of reported rapes, aggravated assaults, and robberies have also fallen in Seattle. A legal agreement over train tracks today. The Swinomish tribe says it's reached an agreement with BNSF Railway to settle a long-running dispute over oil trains trespassing on the Swinomish Reservation. The sides aren't sharing details, but the tribe says the settlement will help build up tribal housing, healthcare, and education, and reduce the number of oil tankers in Swinomish fishing areas. The railroad agreed in the 90s to only run 50 train cars a day, but a judge later found the railroad was running 4 times that many on the reservation. A few more stories to know before we hit the weekend. Sound Transit is going to shut down part of the One Line tomorrow from the beginning of morning service until 2 p.m. Service between the U District and Westlake will be suspended on Saturday tomorrow for maintenance. Shuttle buses will be offered to get around the closure. A restaurant's been saved. 4 longtime employees will take ownership of the historic Virginia Inn in downtown Seattle. The new owners previously worked as cooks, bartenders, and servers there. They'll take over from Craig Perez, who had planned to close the 122-year-old restaurant last spring over a lease dispute. The new owners say the Virginia Inn will now be a proud woman, queer, and immigrant-owned business and will continue being a welcoming and inclusive third place. And it's a big rock weekend ahead. Soundgarden is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on Saturday night. Soundgarden formed in Seattle in 1984, and they paved the way for the 1990s grunge scene in Seattle. At the ceremony on Saturday, several high-profile musicians, including Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains and Brandi Carlile, are expected to perform. Next week on Seattle Now, we're talking home buying. The extreme seller's market in Seattle is shifting, but not everyone thinks it's time to buy a house.
There's a lot of inventory sitting on the market right now. There are fewer buyers in the market, and so buyers have more options.
Hear more Monday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Have a great weekend.